Hey guys, Surreal Sorcerer. We got a little spontaneous project, and I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna record my sessions, and we're gonna talk about what the process is. See if I can keep up with how fast the videos are going, because I sped it up in a 20-minute time frame, so we cut down the 5-hour mark of this whole project, this one specifically, into a 20-minute video we just talk about. And just get the creative flow out in words as best as possible. So, actually, let's go this way. Okay. So we're at the start. I watched a Drawfee episode. I made a Drawfee fan art previously. So I wanted to make this little toast man. Oopsie the Breakfast Beast is what his apparent final name became. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking primitives. I took a cube in order to make the small base of the toast. And we're taking 2 cylinders that I've been having issues with rotating from top, but we ended up making it work out. They're gonna make the upper parts of the toast where it like curves. So we got that. We added the primitives there, and we're smoothing the surface out just so it's got the less of the inset of the cube in there. And I also cut out the side. I tilted it to the side and then cut it, so it's just got a clean edge. And then I scaled it down, so we got the toast now. So now what we're gonna do is extrude the mouth out in the opposite direction. We were doing it forward first. Smooth the mouth out so that we got some place for him to talk and keep his little tongue. And then we got the little sphere. We're going to add a primitive there to make his tongue. Now we're doing the eyes. So the eyes were just 2 spheres because it's just like egg yolks. And then to make the egg whites, I tried doing it with cylinders, but it wasn't working out. So we took a sphere, ovaled the heck out of it, and we span it around like 3 times because it looks like on the Oopsie art, he's got like a total of like 6 outward parts. And we are also using the move tool to move the geometry. And thanks to voxel tools, it all stays uniform. It scales up depending on where you move your geometry. So similar to like ZBrush, the 3D code does it through voxels and surface tools. And right now we're giving a hard edge to the mouth, so it clearly is visible, and it's not super rounded, so it looks like you could possibly close his mouth. And we also cut it out so it wasn't we turned it to the side and cut it so it wasn't as outwards. But now what we're going to do is, looks like we're going to make the butter on his head. Butter. Caught it with a chance of meatballs too. We're making that butter, and we're going to cut the top out of it, so it looks like it's melting a little bit. And we're smoothing it out. Butter is going to melt, we got to smooth it. And then in order to make the drips on his forehead, we put some very long spheres, smoothed it out, and we've got the butter drips. A lot of the move tool, it's super helpful to just, this is not even symmetried at this point, I'm just making sure it looks natural and it's not completely symmetried. But now we're going on the arms. We've got his spoon arms. Don't eat the spoons! Oh, that's a thing from the episode. And we're using, not cylinders, we're using spheres to make the spoon handles. And we also subtracted out of the sphere with another sphere to make the inset. And we're also adding using the spheres to add part of the bread that it kind of pokes out of. And now we got the bacon legs. This is like really low detail stuff, just making sure I got the physical form down. And we used the cut tool to make it all wavy, so it's like wavy bacon. And now we're smoothing it out super hard. And you're just looking at it, making sure it looks alright. We also added another top part there just to, make it look more cleaned up on the butter. I'm adding some roughness to the toast on the side where the spoons go in, so it looks like they were kind of just shoved in there. We angled him a little bit because I noticed that he kind of like is bent a little bit. Okay, if you have bacon legs, they're going to be bent. We're going to do some of the crease clay tool on the eggs to make them more prominent. It kind of just makes all the polygons closer together so it's got a sharper edge. And we are in the render window for just a sec. I'm looking up toast. Yes, I'm looking up toast because we're now hardening the surface with super fine detail to make it look like it was cooked in the toaster. I've never searched toast in Google to model something before. We're back at the toast. Okay. Now we're kind of moving the whites out. And we got bacon. The bacon is just going to get deformed on both legs just to add some non-uniformity. So they're both different. We're kind of moving the mouth a little bit too. It reminds me of a cat's mouth. We're kind of just making it look like that more, minus the nose. We're adding some roughness to the bacon legs too, so it looks like it was cooked. And we're just kind of like bouncing back between voxel and surface objects. The spoons, yeah, that's right. I remember smoothing that part out too much, so I had to add it more just to make it look like it was a spoon, that part. Closing the mouth up just a little bit more and then adding some more details closer up. Because you got your toast, it's going to be like the bread, but it's going to be harder, so we got to make it look like it. And then we're adding a couple like slash and like rock chisels into the bacon so it looks more textured. And then we save. Always save. You never know when the software is going to crash. But now we are on to retopologizing. So what is the purpose of retopologizing exactly? Just doing the sculpt is a ton of polygons, and putting that into either a game engine or Sketchfab or something like that, it takes a lot of processing because there's so many faces to read. So what we can do is by putting these green little, like, just polygons down, eventually this is going to be around the whole model, and that's a Spotify account. Yes, I do listen to music while doing this. We can, what we call projecting a normal map. Projecting a normal map. Let's speak English. And make it so that the high detail, the sculpt itself, is projected onto the low detail I'm making right now. And right now we're just trying to make the polygons pretty uniform with the sculpt as possible. We're working on the mouth right now. A lot of the time I'm just using the points and faces tool as well as the quads tool. Points and faces is awesome because you can put those little like blue dots you see me putting down. And then you can right click inside a like 4 pointed area and it'll just put a polygon there. So we are almost done with the mouth. We are symmetrying this so it looks similar on both sides. At some point we will not symmetry because the bacon legs are both pretty different, so we're going to do those both separately. This portion was a little difficult because I had to build the butter in low poly as well. I'm trying to figure out at this point, like, how am I going to get this so that there's like minimal geometry on the sides of the bread, but still have enough polygons to build up the butter. This is like a cooking channel combined with a 3D modeling channel. We eventually just start doing those, just moving those polygons back, and we're gonna add some more polygons because we're gonna have like the side of the bread. It's gonna have at least 3 rows of faces so that we can build up the butter, and it keeps some of the detail too. And there's some blue dots there that you can see. Yeah, so I'm just building up the polygons off of the drip of butter, going there. And we're just going to like building it to match the geometry like as before. It's always good to stay uniform with your polygons and geometry so that when you project it, it doesn't look weird when you look at it from a certain angle. And we... what is it? Yeah, there we go. There's the part. There's the part where I make the 3 rows of polygons. It's like, it's so hard to keep up with this at such high speed. When I'm talking, if I talk about it while I'm working on it, it's easier, but this is super fast. But we got the polygons here, and I built a circle of polygons around the arm so that we can kind of like build out from that. You see like how that's going? Yeah, that's looking good. And now we're going on the back. Now the back doesn't have the face on it, so we don't have to put as many polygons on the back. Because you'll see I'll just cap it with a single, like, yeah, see the cap right there? That'll be just a point with a bunch of vertices going to it. We got the bottom of the bread now, which, again, you're not going to see too much, but we're doing the 3 common row as the side of the bread. And now we're doing the bacon. So we got 1 left side of bacon, and we're just kind of keep the flow of how the sculpt is flowed. So we're kind of just angling it with how the bacon's angled. And there's some times where I'm like, oh, I just want to get there, but I can't, so I have to... Oh, and this little blue polygon, woo, this thing. Sometimes you'll have extra pieces and you just can't find them because they're inside a mesh, but luckily I was able to get rid of that. So now we've got building the bacon legs, and I'm going to build it on the other side too. And I also added some more polygons, and we'll see we're just going to match it right up. It just looks so streamlined when you watch it super fast. And the bacon legs are almost done. We got to get the bottom of the bacon legs. I think I forget that until the very end. I also noticed here that when you like look down the middle of the symmetry, sometimes the vertices aren't welded together. So I go in and check all the vertices later. But now we're doing the whites of the eggs, the polygons built on top of there. And it's kind of a hilly surface, so I decided to do a couple rows of these before I just cap it at the eyes. So we kind of like stretch that out. And then we add some more rows of polygons into the whites. There we go. And it's a little, like, off to the left compared to the layer above it, but I usually smooth it out with the brush tool so that it's more uniform. See, I'm kind of like moving them all individually. I even decided to cap it at the eye, and I thought, now we need another row of polys because it's going to look more accurate. So there's the other row of polygons. And then at this point, after this, I believe we capped it. So once we get that really close up, and it's sometimes hard to have the software read where you want to put the polygons, so you have to space them out correctly. And we're going to have a cap in a little bit. We're moving the polygons closer to the center of the yolks, and there's our cap. So now I think we hit the butter at this point. So we're going to build out that butter and Spotify account again. And the butter yolks, or not the butter yolks, the butter on top of his head was kind of just like a cylinder, but I had to build it out, like shrinking the higher it went up. So we're doing that. We're merging the symmetry polygons together, and then we've almost got it. I'm going to cap it at this point too, but we got to get really close to the top because the top of the butter is actually not centered. It's shifted to the right a little bit. So we're going to cap it. There we go. And sometimes it'll be a little weird in geometry, so I had to cut out some polys. Now we're doing the spoons. Don't eat the spoons. So the spoons is just another like cylinder-based polygon structure. And when we get to the spoon, we have to actually go around the rim of it with some polygons. And then it's as simple as building the back out. And it's not uniform at all. I would not expect to rig this character because the polygons are monstrously ununiform, especially towards the end of the spoon. We can do this fine with this character because I don't intend to rig it, but when you're doing rigging for characters, you have to be a certain way with polygons in order for them to bend correctly with the rig. But now we're going into the spoon, so it's just a bunch of circle layers of polygons going towards the center, and we're going to cap this one too because sometimes it's just easier to cap. Sometimes it gives issues with normal maps, but there wasn't too much sculpting detail on the spoon. It was just like a flat metal surface. And now we got the bottom of the bacon legs. So we're just building those out. So it's all closed up. And we're just, at this point, we're kind of just brushing some geometry to make sure that it's, like, I feel comfortable with it. We even cut a couple extra lines into the eyes. But now we go on to UV unwrapping. So in order to project the normal map detail, we have to unwrap the character. And I won't get into too much detail about that, but unwrapping is basically if you took a paper cube and you unfolded it so that it was flat. It's like that with a character. So you'll notice the mesh is changing color. It's because 3D Coat has a cool system where every single separate piece of your UVs is a different color. And this is the part where I'm also making sure the center of the object is all welded together so that the UV unwrap isn't weird. So the mouth unwrapped and we got the two eyes. The two eyes might just end up being on the toast towards the end. It actually is. Why did I say might? At this point, we're just like, where am I going to cut this? So we cut the butter top out, and we're going to cut the front of the bread and the back of the bread out as well as the bacon legs. And all the pictures on the right is literally just the UVs flattening out. The more white they are, the more it's easier for the software to texture it. Now we got the UV template, but I have to make these as big as possible so that when I put these into a 2048 by 2048 image, it's the bigger the UVs are, the more pixels can fit in each one of the UVs and thus heighten the detail. Look at me trying to describe this while this video is going at lightning speed. So we're just like placing them all out so that they're distributed so I can eventually scale it up, which I do right now. So it fits in that little square. And that square is going to be 2048 by 2048 pixels. Save it again. Always save. I'm surprised I didn't save sooner. We are now ready to project normal maps. And 3D Coat was acting weird, so I had to reopen it. But what we're going to do now is take the high resolution sculpt and project it onto the low poly one we just made. And once I turn off the box tree, you'll see we've got the low poly model with the high detail. So we're getting really close now. We're just at the painting process, which is the last step. So we are painting the yolks of the eyes yellow. And we're going to be looking up more breakfast foods from Google because I have to look up color references for food. This was really fun, honestly. I'm used to just texturing super serious things, but then I'm looking up food for like a character, It's just like so weird. It's so out of my workflow when it comes to just designing characters. This was just a goofy thing I built in like 5 hours, and I was like pressuring myself to get this done in the shortest amount of time possible. And it was fun. Like, oh my god, last night I did this as of the recording of this video, and it was great. I have incense burning in my room, which helps me with my mental workflow, and it just was super fun. But right now we're texturing the orange bread, because when it's burnt, I guess it's darker. I kind of should have made it like lighter as bread, but once we get into the video later, we kind of like put some more effects on it, so it's got different colors. We've got the bacon we're coloring. We're just doing all the base colors at this point. We're also going to be texturing the spoons. And if you look at the right, we've got our UV template, and I'm actually texturing straight onto that versus the model, because 3D Coat can do that, and it's amazing. Pancakes, that's right, we looked up butter for pancakes. So right now we're coloring the butter in, and we turned off the normal map and the ambient occlusion so that we're just looking at the diffuse right now, and we can just get a more accurate coloring of the whites on the yolks. Excuse me. And then we turn it back on to get back to making sure that the coloring of the yolks matches the normal map projection, so that the depth is on the whites, and then the yolk's depth is on the yellow. And we've got the crust of the bread coloring as well as the tongue. I wanted to make the tongue red, but I felt like it would just be like a little egg yolk in there, would have just been more breakfasty, so why not? There's a lot of little creative choices in my breakfast food, and we had to open 3D Coat again because it was being weird. And now, if you guys are familiar with the magic wand tool in Photoshop, 3D Coat has that. So if I want to just texture the spoons, I can isolate the spoons by themselves. And I'm even doing the metalness right now, so the spoons are going to be metal, so they're the only thing metal in the scene. So we're just making the spoons super metal. And we're working on the roughness right now, so the spoons are going to be super shiny. Like really high rough, or really low roughness versus really high. The bacon's also going to be pretty low roughness because we want it to shine because it's like grilled on the grill. And then it's just me trying to see, okay, I haven't done this in a while, let's see how it works. And we got the glow of the bacon. We're also glowing the butter and the yolks of the eggs, just to give that shine to balance it around in the model. So we got like different shiny points in the model. And then we got the shine. And we're taking the spoons out. I think we're inverting it so we can texture the spoons. Right now they're too shiny, so what we're gonna want to do is lower that. We're gonna lower that roughness so that they're not as shiny. And we are doing just the whites now. Well, the whites are gonna be shiny, but not as shiny, because if you've seen eggs, you know, like the yolk is a little shinier. I'm not an expert at modeling breakfast food, but this is something that was fun. So now we're just getting the crust, fixing that up, making sure there's no gray texture showing up. And now we're looking at the guy, making sure it's all clean. A lot of this at the end is just cleaning up. And now here's where we add the bread variation. So when you toast the bread, it's going to have different levels of color. So we're adding some light oranges to the bread towards the front to make it look more like toast. And where are we going at now? We're getting the whites done. Oh wait, this is the point where I try to add in more yellow to the edges of the whites, so that we got the little burnt effect when you cook the sunny side up eggs. And now we're just burning the sides of the toast with a scratchy brush, or scratch alpha, with a brown color, so that it's got burnt edges. And there were some issues with the roughness on the bottom. I was just trying to fix that, so the reason the white and black was there is that's the level of roughness, with the grays and blacks being more shiny and the whites being like no shine at all. Something I can't explain right now, but it's how the computer reads the roughness and metal textures. And if you see any blue that popped up on the right, that's normal mess. So now we're getting to the home stretch. We're just kind of like cleaning up the roughness, making sure the roughness is not where it's supposed to be. We're looking at bacon again, because what I'm going to do is give some variation in the color of the bacon, give some oranges in there, get some like skin tones, get some scratch marks. The normal map's doing a lot for that, but we want to make sure there's more color in it. I looked at so many pictures of bacon. Oh, and now what we're doing is I noticed that the brown and the orange were kind of looking awkward. So I'm texturing the UV template to the right, so that we have some more of like the orange gradation from the inside of the bread to the edge. And then we're scratching up the sides of the bread some more. And we're getting the underside of the bread too, because I didn't touch that at all earlier, so we're going to get it now before we finish. And then with the yolks, we're being a little weird, so we want to make sure that those are by the normal meps. And I'm coating up some of the yolks of the bread so that it's not attached to the butter. And then the last portion was just making sure that the roughness of the butter was not conflicting with the roughness of the bread, because there's no like shine in the bread, but there's shine in the butter. And now we're just making sure that the roughness levels and the eyes are balanced out. And we should be getting to the end of this. Yeah, last portion is we're kind of just smudging the textures. And there we have it, Mr. Breadman. But thank you guys for listening. It was a fun little project. It was a 5-hour thing. I might do more spontaneous projects to get away from the workflow. I appreciate you looking. If you like Mr. Toastman, or his real name, Oopsies the Breakfast Beast, he was from Drawfee, so I'll put a link in the description below of their episode they made him in. And it was fun. Thank you guys for watching. Surreal Sorcerer. Don't forget to save.